Hi, this is Kane Day of Kane Journal. In this section, we're going to start talking about state management. In last section, we planned our app. We went ahead and downloaded the starter app from Udacity. Then we planned our app by defining the components, and then we refactored all the code into their different components. In this section, we will talk about state management and then start fulfilling the features that are required of you for this project. Once again, if you come here, one of the features is being able to move books from one shelf to the other. So pretty much, if I click on this book right now is on currently reading. If I click on read, it should move the book from here to here. One thing I noticed real quick is the titles of the shelves doesn't reflect properly what shelves. They're all showing currently reading right now. This is a quick fix. Remember that we have an app that contains shelves, right? And then shelves contain shelf. Each of them are shelf. And from shelves, from here, we are passing in the title for the shelf down to there, to the actual shelf. So currently we're passing in title, currently reading, want to read and read, but it doesn't show here. So if I come here to shelf, we are not taking advantage of the title right now. So I'm just going to update that real quick. Now, the second thing, the second thing is that we want to ensure that the books are, the drop downs here correctly reflect where the books are on the shelf. This is on currently reading. Well, it shows currently reading. So how do we fix that? If we come here to our book component, we see, actually, we're using a select tag, and in select we have what we call default value, and we're just going to go ahead and set that to book.shelf. That's the default value. So now each book should reflect, yes, that this is on want to read. So if I click on this to move the book from currently reading to read, though it shows here, if I refresh, it doesn't, it will go back to currently reading. So how do we go ahead and handle that? If we go back to our app, right now we have all our books from the app component. Now in React, when you update state, React goes ahead and re-renders your components and the child components. Now, if we want to update the shelf, the shelf that a particular book is on, we need to find a way to update the state here. And then once we update the state, React goes ahead and re-renders the component, which means that our shelves component right now knows how to assign each books to their right shelves based on the shelf property on the JSON object. So we're gonna find a way to update this state by actually having a function that will so right here, we want to respond to the onChange event right here, and we can actually put that here to say onChange, right? onChange, we want to go ahead and do something. We want to go ahead and let's call it change book shelf, and then what are we going to do? We're going to pass in the book we want to update and the shelf where we want the book to go. And that is going to be taken from the event that actually happens, and on the event.target.value is going to be the name of the shelf that we clicked on. So we're going to be defining the change book shelf. Where are we going to put that? We can't put that here. If we put it here, it's though we have to find a way to bring the state from the books state from here all the way to here. Now, and there are ways to do it. We could actually use what we call we can create a custom hook for that, but I don't want to get into that now. Right now, I want to get into actually fulfilling the requirement, and we'll talk about custom hooks in later videos. So let's define it here. But first, before we go ahead, I want to change this from the class-based component that it is right now to a functional component. Let me handle this real quick. Says change bookshelf is not defined. Fine, we haven't defined this. So I'm gonna change this real quick. Okay, hold on. I want to clear these errors. Let me remove this real quick. Constant change bookshelf and just define a function for it real quick. Okay. Now, how to change from functional class-based component to functional-based component? We did that in some of the other, like in the last video, but it's just changing the name here. I can pretty much do this to a function component, or so say function app, and then update and remove the render method. And now it says state is not defined. Now and then we can also do the other one. Is the constant, and then do this. Okay, yeah, that one works. But we want to update the variables that we have here. This is no longer in a class, so we need to define a constant here. Actually, we won't even need all of this anymore. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove the state here. And then it's going to be constant. Actually, because this was handled in React in state in the class based component as a state, we are going to go ahead and just import our use state here, use state, and then we're going to define using object destructuring. The way use state works is it gives you the actual value, the state, and then it gives us a function which you can define here that you can use to update that state. So instead of calling the set state that you usually would call in a class-based function component, we just call this here. And we're gonna do the same thing here. So const books, and we want to just set books here, and wait, line 100. Oh, this is called books app. Sorry, books app. And then what else? So now instead of having this dot state, we just go ahead and say show search page, and then we go ahead and have this is going to be set show search page, where we pass in the default value here to be false. Sorry, this is going to be use state. Okay, and then this is going to be, so this is going to be use state. Actually, okay, this is set. Okay, and actually we can take this out and put it in its own we can put it in its own variable. So let's define it here. Let's say we have constant initial books. Let me just put it here. And then here we're gonna pass in initial books. Okay. Okay, now let's see what error are we getting. Cannot be proper to state of undefined. Okay, now one thing real quick is that the startup project was based on an old version of React, which doesn't support use state. So we're gonna go ahead and update that real quick. I think the hooks was introduced in React 16.7. Don't quote me on that. So let's just go ahead and install or update our React to that version. I'm going to do npm install again, and then npm start. Okay. Now, there is still some updates we need to make. So this is going to be books. Okay. So now that our books, our books app is has been converted, let's go ahead and implement the function to move books from one state to the other. So the to move books from one shelf to the other. So the function is going to be called, let's call it constant. Let's say we want to write a function called move or update book shelf, and like I said, that function is going to take in the book and then the where to the shelf we want the book to be on. And the algorithm pretty much is, when you for the event we're going to get a book, just go ahead and do book dot shelf to be where to. Now we want to update the book here in the books object, right? So that when we update the state, because React is managing the state for us, when we update the state, the app goes in and we render. So what we want to do is get the current state, which is books, and let's go ahead and find what the book, if we have that book on the shelf, which we're going to be. So we're going to say for each book in in the books, let's go ahead and say if we find a book, if book.id equals to the book that we passed into the function .id, then go ahead and return. We're gonna say book.shelf is gonna be the where to, right? And then we're gonna return book instead. Okay, and once all the mapping is complete, we're just gonna go ahead and set let's define a constant updated books equals, we're just gonna go ahead and set books to be updated books. So this function is what we want to pass all the way down to where we're going to be needing it, and which means we're going to pass it down from our from here to the shelves. So let's say updated bookshelf equals, and then I'm going to just go ahead and pass this down to all the other components. So come here to shelves and then pass it all the way down. Like I said, this is not the best approach. Okay, then let me put it here, updated bookshelf. The best approach would have been to create a custom hook for this. And then from shelves, we go here to the shelf. And then we also pass it here, updated bookshelf. And we now pass it down to the book, right? And we can call this anything. We can call this update book or something. Or anything. Update bookshelf. Okay. And then now if we go to book, let's get the update bookshelf prop we passed in, and then right here, oh, we call it change bookshelf, right? Then we could do that here, just call it change bookshelf if you want, and then right here within shelf, you can change this to change bookshelf. Okay, now this is defined here. Let's remove this one. Okay, so this is what we need to do. Let's go ahead and try it out. Okay, what happened here? Oh, all the books moved. Let's see what happened. Go back to your app. Oh, let's see. We don't have a unique way of identifying each of the books. To React, all of these books are the same because we don't have an ID. Let's go ahead and introduce an ID real quick to identify each book. Okay, all right, let's try that again. Okay, it says cannot read property shelf of undefined. Let's fix that. Okay, do we have any shelf that is on the book that doesn't have a shelf? Cannot read property shelf of undefined. Okay, let's fix that. Let's see why that is happening. And it's console.log what's happening here. Let's say we do have console.log, and we call this let's log the books. Let's see, and then I'm going to open the developer console here, and since each child is in a list to be unique, okay, that will come back to that later. Let's move the book again. Okay, the above are called in shelves component all the way. Consider adding an error. Okay. We're gonna have consider logbook. It's our book, and then let's log the where to. Okay. Let's see. All right, so we get the book. We get the book, and we get the where to. Oh, okay. Our algorithm is wrong, I guess. So what's happening here is we are mapping. So we have the books currently in the state, and then we find the book that we want to update. We update the shelf. Now, if we don't find the book, if it's for the other books, we just want to go ahead and return the B, right? I'm going to go ahead and return B. So let's try that again. And move to want to read. All right, awesome. Okay, so that is working right now. And to fix the error here real quick, React does want each child in a list to have a unique key prop. So all the books that is being rendered here should have a unique key. So we just come here to where we are rendering the book, and then we can just go ahead and say key equals to the b.id. Okay, and that fixes the error. Okay, we're going to stop here, and in the next video we're going to talk about API integration.